Hey everyone, it's me, Matt. I am at West Point right now, staying at what's called the Thayer Hotel. A little bit of a sort of rationale as to why I'm here. So with my current organization I'm working with in my civilian career, I have been given the opportunity and the honor to teach leadership across the spectrum of leaders that we have in our organization. Currently, right now, I teach middle management, and the course that I got sent on with the Thayer Leadership and Development Group is the next level to that. And I experienced it this week at West Point using the Thayer team's expertise and experience. And I have to admit, this has been one of the biggest and most humbling moments of my leadership journey that I've ever really experienced. Of course, I have two paths of leadership. I have military leadership in my reservist army career, and I have my corporate or civilian leadership that is in my own business. Now, I'm not going to tell you, of course, where I work because I'd like to keep that more personal and private to myself and my own career. But my military career, most of you are aware, as a reserve artillery gunner, I'm only a master bombardier. So I'm a young rank, an NCM or an NCO. And leadership is very integral at the tactical level. But this training course was more at the sort of strategic / operational level. So there's three sort of levels of the way in which the military works. Of course, strategic being very high level, organizational at the next sort of planning level, and then tactical at the front, working where the rubber hits the road. And this week, we were given a number of tools, which I actually already train middle management to do, but expanded on it significantly. And we're better of a place to do it than at West Point. Now, of course, this is a American institution. It's a military academy, extremely prestigious. I visited Sandhurst in the UK, being in the British Army back in my day, and very similar, sort of concept and ethos that they have here at West Point than they do at Sandhurst. I would love to visit RMC, which is Canada's Officer Training Academy Institute in out east, but that's for another day. But I wanted to create this video because for many of you watching this channel or members of my channel, you are leaders in your own self. Maybe you're on your own leadership journey, whether it's in, again, your own civilian careers, your military careers. And I want to give a little bit of reflection from this week, the things that I've learned and the things that maybe you could take away that will help you. The first thing I always say is leadership is in everyone. Okay, it doesn't matter who you are, whether you have direct reports, people working for you, leadership is with everyone. And me on this platform, I think it's really important to emphasize that because a lot of you watch my channel and you ask me a lot of questions about wanting to join the military or asking advice about the current career that you're in. And what I would say is, being that you are a leader in your own inherent way, looking after your own personal leadership, there's some things that I can pass on to you that's going to help. The one thing I've really learned being at West Point this week is the realization that you have so much potential that you're just not using. I wouldn't say I'm the most experienced leader in the world. Of course, I'm actually very junior in my leadership path or journey. But what I will say is I've been exposed to multiple levels of leadership, and this actual course itself isn't actually designed for my level of leadership in my company. It's actually designed for executives, and I'm not an executive. But I was very humbled to be able to be invited to this because I was the junior along with all the seniors in my course. And as I said, I learned that there's so much potential for us as leaders to really excel in where we want to be as leaders. And I don't think we capitalize on it enough, whether it be education that you're doing, you're doing a university degree, whether you're doing a simple course at a college to help you, do better at dealing with difficult people or handling difficult circumstances as a leader or a manager. There's so much more potential there. And looking at West Point's, curriculum and what they get up to is very interesting. I mean, very similar, of course, to other military schools and academies out there. But the 4-year structure that they use is fascinating to me. I would have loved to have gone through it. I mean, maybe I'll do the trifecta of military service and go to the US Army and come to West Point. It's not going to happen. But that was the first thing that I learned, is that the potential for me to expand on my leadership is there. And the tools that I'm taught on this particular course, which are copyrighted, so I'm not going to get into the intricacies of what I was taught, but the tools that you're provided are basically standing around NATO standard leadership planning, right? The orders process, SMESC, situation, mission, execution, service support, command and signals. It's all there. It's just structured in a civilian format. And that was the next thing I learned, is you can use that tool or that structure of leadership in anything you do, literally in anything you do. And I know that sounds kind of cringe and a bit cliche, but it's true. You can use it for, with your family life, with your friends, with everything you do. I'll be openly honest. I've made huge mistakes in my life, massive, and some very recently, right? Terrible mistakes, ones that I'll regret for the rest of my life, in all honesty. But that's part of leadership. The next thing I want to pass on in terms of what I've learned is benchmarking, learning from other people's things that they've done right, leaders that have done things right, and leaders that haven't done things quite so well. And of course, I'm at West Point, so I'm learning a lot about military leadership through the history and through the ages with America's Army, which makes sense. We're at West Point. And I'll be brutally honest, I really didn't take a huge amount of fascination or understanding of US military leadership history. I've obviously focused a lot on the British history and Canadian history, with Curry and Montgomery, etc. And, I've already learned quite a bit in the military history of leadership in the past, but not to the intricacy of what I learned on this course. And learning about people like Patton and Washington, George Washington, Benedict Arnold. I never even knew who Benedict Arnold was until this week. But my goodness, did the case study learning about George Washington and Benedict Arnold's situation really made me relate to a lot of the errors I've made in my life, the things that I've done wrong. And as I said, I'll never forgive myself for those things. And I'm really hard on myself, I think, and rightly so, I should be, because you have to be held accountable for the things that you do. But on top of that, it's a lessons learned. And, we talk about after action review, like what went wrong, what went right, how do we improve? And learning and benchmarking is something I want to pass on to you and encourage you to do. If you're a young leader right now, do some case studies. Look at leaders that you've perceived as being really good or really bad, or maybe in the middle, and do a little bit more digging, right? Do a little bit more understanding. Every leader, no matter who they are, has a flaw of some kind. And sometimes it's worth embracing that. I think most of the American followers that are watching my channel right now should have an understanding, or basic understanding, of who Patton was. Old blood and guts. And I learned a lot about him during this week. And of course, I watched the Patton movie because it's one of my favorite movies out there. It's an amazing movie. But when you really get into the intricacies of who Patton was, I take similarities in some of the way he operates. And it reinforces that leadership journey you're taking and saying, okay, I know who Patton was, I know the good things that he did, and I want to take away those good things that he did, but also learn from all the things that he didn't do so good. He slapped a young private, right? That's in the modern army, in any military, in any institution, right? Professional institution, slapping someone, you wouldn't even have been able to make it out of the medical tent without being arrested or have a very bad day. But it didn't happen to Patton. There's a lot of historical debate about, him slapping that soldier was the best thing he could have ever done or the worst thing he could have ever done. The reality is he openly admitted that he, should never have done that. And when I look at the mistakes I've made, both recently and in the long term, huge mistakes and errors and fails in my moral integrity, I look at that and say, learn from it, right? Have a lessons learned. And he did. He had his own internal after-action review. Was like, probably shouldn't have slapped that private. Same for George Washington, right? Benedict Arnold betrayed George and his country. And I think George had a bit of the wake-up call. He couldn't believe that Benedict had done that to him. And it would have been interesting to know, what would have happened if Benedict Arnold had a peer that was just as good, because Benedict Arnold was a fantastic leader, very good at what he did, but his morals were wrong. And you as leaders maybe watching this video right now, take a look at yourself in the mirror, look at that benchmarking of others, and reference the things that are going right and that are going wrong in what you're doing in leadership. And there's so many case studies and examples that you can learn from that you need to take advantage of. And that this week is one of the biggest things that I thoroughly enjoyed about this Thayer leadership development training that I was provided kindly by my business, was those case studies and learning about the history of US military leaders and saying, wow, like, yeah, I relate to that. I know that person. I know the people that I work with are like that and not like that, and in myself, more focused on myself that way. So they're the things that I just want to kind of share with you from this week, because a big part of me, and this is my own little sort of debrief, right? I'm debriefing myself, just talking to you as my YouTube following. This is kind of my own after action review, and for things that I could do better in my leadership review is I think my integrity has failed for sure. In the past, I've made mistakes, and I got to correct that. I got to do better. And things I know I can improve on is definitely that, and the things that went wrong. But the things I do well too, I think, I act with a sort of fair, firm, and friendly nature. The way that I lead both across my civilian and military career, I look after everyone and treat everyone the same way. I'm firm when I need to be, because when it comes to safety, especially in my industry, there's no gray area. And friendly. I mean, I'm hoping that you see across my channel that I'm friendly as I can be. It's not fake. I'm genuinely wanting to try and make everyone happy, but that can be a flaw too. Again, learning some of the case studies, trying to be everyone's friend may not always be the best way. I met some incredible people this week across my organization, in the team that came to do this training with me, and those instructors that gave me the training. General Reimer, retired. What a guy. Like, I went for a morning run with him around West Point this morning at 5:30 in the morning, and he gave us sort of an informal tour of West Point, and seeing again the statues, the history, the plebes, right? The plebes that they call them, the cadets that are around West Point, and seeing what they're going through. I've been through my own plebe journey, I guess, going through Army Foundation College Harrogate, not 4 years, right? I wasn't going to get a degree in science out of it for sure, but I went through my own journey as a young candidate cadet through basic training, and a year for a 16-year-old is a long time to be challenged and pushed consistently every day with little to no gap. And I think that in itself, when I was 16, pushed through that training school at Harrogate, allowed me to set the foundation for leadership through my entire life. But if I want to go even further back than that, I would actually say that the Army cadets, like as a junior from 12 to 16, also embedded a huge amount of leadership potential. If you start learning how to be a leader at 11 to 12 years old, you're setting yourself up some really positive leadership experiences when you're older. And I'll always advocate for the cadet program. And if you're a cadet watching this right now, wherever you are in the world, hats off to you and respect to you for doing what you do and committing yourself and your time and your commitment to your country, to your community, and your sort of selfless commitment to wanting to do something better with your life. So good for you. And I will say that if you are a leader in that context, a young leader, keep doing what you're doing. I am I guess a testament to that. I'm at West Point by my company, like the business that I work for, in a wonderful, beautiful hotel. I mean, the history that's just around this hotel, there's a sword on my wall in this room right now. Every picture you see around the room is of a previous candidate or a previous graduate of the school. Really, really cool history. But what I'm telling you is, if you're a young leader, very young leader, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here and say I'm a legacy, but you're in the right path. If you feel like the cadets isn't for you and maybe you're getting bored of it, keep going, keep trying. Try another day, try another session, try another evening, try another weekend, another summer camp. And again, it speaks to other leaders too. Maybe you're a young soldier going through West Point. Maybe you're watching this and you're at West Point right now. Respect and hats off to you too. The level of training you're going through. If you're at RMC, if you're at Sandhurst, if you're in wherever you may be, right, across your spectrum, you're in a civilian industry and you're getting promoted, or you're pushing for that promotion, keep going. Have that tenacity to keep pushing forward. Because for me, knowing that I'm in an environment that I'm so blessed to be here. It came from me pushing to want to be a leader. I would never have been able to meet General Reimer, retired, at West Point, learning how to be a better leader, if I hadn't advocated myself and inspired my own leadership to go the path to get here. So you don't get these experiences from just sitting back. And that comes back to my initial point of take the opportunity to find more opportunities and more avenues to expand your leadership journey. You could be a manager at McDonald's. You could be a cadet instructor. Whatever it may be, there is so much opportunity for you as a leader that it can set you off in so many different places. And you don't have to lead people. Just lead yourself. Go to the gym more. Eat healthier. Get to sleep earlier. That's signs of leadership. Little things like that, right? It all makes a difference. Again, referencing back to Patton, right? When he took over, his first operation, a lot of his troops, ill discipline, right? They didn't have the uniform set up. It was rough, and he pulled them in shape. And a lot of people would push back, right? And I can see why. It's human nature to be in a comfort zone, but being a comfort zone in leadership, you're setting yourself up for so many missed opportunities. So West Point, wow, what a place. The Thayer Hotel, beautiful experience. I'm traveling back to Canada tomorrow. And tonight, as I said, this kind of reflection moment with you is kind of my taking a breath and sort of releasing some of that experience to you, because I think it's important to share this with you, because I don't think with the platform that I have with YouTube, not sharing this would be a wise decision. I would love to attend RMC in Canada to see the same experience, see if I can benchmark from more Canadian leaders. I think that would be a really good opportunity, especially knowing that there has been challenges in leadership across the Canadian Armed Forces, and that's not a surprise to anyone. But I don't think it's a crack in the foundation. It's not crumbling of the castle, right? I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but I think having opportunities like I'm at today is worthwhile sharing, and maybe if I can go to RMC and do the same thing and share my experience there, it could maybe encourage those who are having a tough time wanting to maybe become leaders to become them, and to keep walking that path and to not give up hope or faith. I don't get involved in politics. I don't get involved in it at all. It's just not, first of all, I'm not allowed to, and second of all, it's just not who I am. I keep walking the path, even though, as I said, I've made many stumbles. Some of them I'll never forgive myself for, and issues that I've made myself have been made by me, solely me, right? I'm a big ownership, extreme ownership kind of guy. Jocko Willink with Extreme Ownership, great book, by the way, if you can read it. Yeah, so that's it, folks. I know this video may have gone a little longer than I had hoped, but yeah, if you're at West Point, you're around, you want to come for a beer in the next couple of hours, the bar closes at 11, and you come hang out with me. No, I'm just kidding. I know you can't do that, but yeah, thank you again to I guess if anyone's watching from the Thayer group, then thank you to those that were in my team with me. We did a fantastic leadership exercise where we did sort of a scenario. It's called urban orienteering, which of course I was very used to. In fact, I still have my sheet here with all my details on there. We got scout snipers, and we got capture points, and I was infantry, so your teams get broken up into different groups. You got infantry, artillery, and I never got put in artillery. I got put in armored, which was nice. But so if you have the opportunity, let's say you're watching this and you're in a corporate entity, or you have the ability to send your teams on training, consider Thayer. I'm not trying to sell them, then I'm not advocating for them because I'm getting paid by them or anything like that. The people you meet in this experience are incredible leaders, and if you have the opportunity to send teams on training like this, or any form of leadership training, I would encourage you to do so. Your people will make you more successful than any amount of money you pump into infrastructure, equipment, technology. Your people are what drive the change and what drive the culture of your organization, whether it be a military or civilian setting. So think about that, and take away those 3 points I mentioned. Making the most of the opportunities you have, benchmark from others, and I can't remember what the last one was because I'm very tired. It's been a long week, especially running with the general at 5:30 in the morning. But that's it, everyone. I appreciate you stopping by on the video. If you liked it, leave me a like, share it maybe with those who are going through their own leadership journeys, and I hope you will have a wonderful rest of your day, night, morning, whatever it may be. I encourage you all to check out my description box below if you want to check out my social media, Instagram, Facebook, etc., etc. And thank you to everyone who's been supporting me on my Patreon and PayPal. Really appreciate that. It helps support the channel and keep it going. So have a wonderful rest of your day. All the best, folks. Bye-bye.